Greetings and salutations to all of you sweet and lovely listeners out there. This is your favorite kitty fox coming to you with another podcast episode. I'm going to be completely honest with you. This is my second time recording this, and the only reason is because I was not very happy with the recording that I just did for the past 45 minutes. I definitely felt like there was a lot of heaviness and a lot of, I guess, unnecessary grief and dumping, as it were, to discuss in the last episode, or the one that I just recorded. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be releasing that episode at any point because I'm just going to cover the main topics that I covered in this episode, this new and improved episode right now. To kind of give you a picture of what I talked about in the last episode, I got very existential, and I got very, like, a lot of the topics that I talked about were very heavy and very thought-provoking, which is not a bad thing, but I just want to clarify that I said some things in that episode that I wasn't too fond of. Like, I talked about the entirety of the universe, and then I talked about the sanctity of life and a recent death in the family, which I will go over here in a second. And then I talked about a particular subject that I think would be very sensitive for some people. So I'm gonna do that very differently in this remake here. So bear with me as I get my bearings and I try this again. So first of all, I want to ask, how are you all doing? I hope that this week has gotten off on the right start, and you've been able to have success in your doings of everyday life. And I hope that whatever challenges come your way, that you can tackle them to the best of your ability, and everything that comes your way is somehow, in some way, bringing improvement to your life, even if it's not the most ideal situations. I hope that you can look at them and think of them a certain way that is, and that certain way being something that you can conquer, something that you can truly get through, whatever it may be. And if it's good things that are happening in your life, then by all means, don't take those for granted. Keep those close and remember that they are there for a reason, as well as the bad times. The bad times are there for a reason, as well as the good times. Let's remember that. So I want to talk about, to start, and I want to dedicate this episode to a very particular person. I heard over this past weekend that my sister-in-law's stepmom unfortunately passed away suddenly. And I know, what a way to start a podcast, right? But bear with me. My sister-in-law's stepmom, she was very young. She was only in her 50s. Unsure of what the details are as to how she passed, but I heard that it had happened yesterday, sometime in the afternoon, and I felt a certain amount of heaviness yesterday, and I wasn't sure why, but I think I know now why that was. You know how you have that sense that something's just not right, not necessarily with you, but just in the, I guess, in your own circle or your own area, whether that's family or friends. You can just tell when something's not right. I definitely had that feeling yesterday. But that was some heavy news that I got today, unfortunately. I have to say that, and I have to be transparent, that I wasn't actually that close with her. I had only seen her at like family functions, weddings, and the like, but every time that I saw her and every time I got to talk to her and spend time with her, she was always so warm, kind, and loving. And even though she was married into our family, she still made an impact on our lives. She loved all her kids very much, her stepkids and her biological kids. And I have to say that it really doesn't matter whether they're a step or whether they are, and whether they're blood related or not. She was family. She was our family, and yesterday we lost someone very dear to us. So life won't be the same without her. She was um, true mother of her craft. She was definitely a mother figure. In fact, I would go as far to say that she was a mother figure to me, even if it was my brother's wife's stepmom. She still made an impact on all of our lives, and I'm very grateful to have known her. I'm grateful to have spent time in the joy that she was, because she was always a very, very warm and loving and kind person, and she always had so much joy in her heart, and she always made sure that we all were comfortable and that we were all cared for. And every single time there was a family function, she would always go out of her way to do things and to make sure that we were all having a good time. So this is dedicated to her. I will miss her. Um, and in a sad sense, I wish I had known her more. I wish I had spent more time with her. And I honestly wish that there was more opportunity that we had had together. Um, and I also want to, raise up her kids. She had two sons, or well, has currently. One is in the military, and the other one recently graduated high school. So I cannot imagine what they're going through right now, And I often, this whole day, I've been thinking about them. I've been thinking about the family, and I just hope that they're okay. I hope that everything is um, going as well as it can as far as the grieving process is concerned, because we all grieve in our own ways. We all grieve in our own sense, and for some it takes more time than others. So I hope that none of us take that for granted. And as we think upon the good memories that we had, and we come up to celebrating her life and the goodness that she brought in so many of our lives, I just I hope that it's not in vain, and I hope that we can all get together and be able to just remember her for who she was and who she is, for that matter. And maybe one day we'll meet again. And I just hope that until then, we can keep her close in our hearts and cherish those memories. And as I said, she was fairly young. She didn't have any health conditions as far as anyone knew. But either way, it's just a reminder that we can count on the fact that one of these days we will no longer be here. And that goes with our family too. We've all been through this in some way or another, with losing family members or even friends or those close to us. Even though she was distant, even though she was distant family, and even though she was a couple times removed from relation, once again, that doesn't matter because she was family. Let's remember that even if family is distant, or even if there are some that we don't necessarily get along with, or those we share eye to eye or views with, let's just remember to let them know that we love them and that we care about them. Let's tell them now while we can, because tomorrow is never promised, and we have this opportunity to let them know that we are there and that we care. So, dedicating this to you, to my stepmother-in-law. I miss you. I always will. And I want to thank you for being in my life, even if it was for a short time. You made an impact like you have no idea, and I'll always love you. So let's remember that. Let's remember those who have gone past, and let's remember those who we still have here now, and let's let them know that we love them and that we care about them. So that's been on my heart, and I hope that that's encouraging for those of you out there who are hearing this. And it's my hope that we can put aside our differences and we can realize that these people in our lives, family, friends, and the like, are precious people. They are precious lives that we can be thankful that are here in our lives now. So, on that note, I want to extend that, and I want to hopefully bring a sense of positivity to this situation, as hard as it is. I'm going to remember her for who she was, and I'm going to remember what she did in our lives, and all the lives of her kids, all the lives of distant family, and the lives of her friends, and her husband and her kids, her stepkids, and everyone in between. Which does remind me, speaking of which, we had a nice little love stream over the weekend, over on the other YouTube channel on the main. I got to do a Halloween fursuit stream. And to those of you who came out and supported and chatted and said hi, thank you for being there, and thank you for being present and for participating. It was very kind of you. Thank you for your support, your donations, and all of the above that you have shown during that stream. We had a great time. It was me, my friend Ty, Zell, Sharudo, and Roki. And we all just sat around, had a good time. We were fluffy. We told stories. We enjoyed some candy together. And it was a beautiful time. So I'm very grateful and thankful for all that went on. And it'd been a couple months since I was able to do one of these, but it really felt good to be able to get back and to celebrate this spooky season all together, So I will link that in the description. If you want to rewatch it, feel free. But until next month, which is going to be our Friendsgiving love stream, it'll be a good time with friends and fellowship. And it was a great time for community. It was a great time to chat with everybody in the stream chat and amongst ourselves. And it's those moments that I really love and look forward to, because I love being able to interact and being able to just being able to live, live together in the moment and just forget about our troubles and enjoy a good time together. So that's something I won't forget and something I'm very thankful for. The other things that have been going on have been working a lot of overtime and also planning for the next convention, which is coming up, which is Midwest Fur Fest. So that'll be happening at the beginning of December. So if any of you are going to MFF, I look forward to seeing you. I have my room set up. I have registration. I'm going to be all fluffy in the wintertime and be able to just be a big kitty fox for an entire weekend. Looking forward to this con. I love this con. It's one of my favorites, and I think this will be my 4th year in a row. So I'm looking forward to, once again, walking the streets of Rosemont, Illinois, and spreading joy everywhere we go as furries. So, one thing I want to talk about that has been on my heart lately, in terms of the opening subject of, rest in peace to my stepmother-in-law, but I want to talk about something that I was reading on over the weekend, which is cynicism. Now, to those of you who don't know, being cynical, cynicism, in a very loose definition and butchered definition, um, is basically the act of taking the worst case scenario and applying it to a situation, or being pessimistic in a situation. So, for example, if there's a situation going on, let's say like a natural disaster, it's very easy to go with the negative perspective in that, oh, there's probably going to be a lot of destruction, there's probably going to be a lot of issues, a lot of recovery time, so why would it concern me? You know, what could I do that would possibly make an impact, to make it any better? So might as well stay away from it, stay hands off, because what could I do that could make any sort of a difference? Or if something were to happen, like a decision were to be made, and you might think the worst of it, like, oh, this situation, this decision, this opinion, whatever, is going to bring about so much hurt and heartache, so why bother with it? That, in a sense, that in its essence, I think, is cynicism best described in my own butchered way. But um, I want to just say that being cynicism is a choice. It is something that we as humans often do, because what we like to do is we like to take the negative of a situation and we like to play it out and flesh it out as much as possible. And that's just natural for us. It's natural to take the contrary belief. It's natural to take the most negative belief about something and apply it to a situation. And I was doing some reading on the Daily Stoic email. And those of you who don't know, I often get emails from Ryan Holiday's daily email of the Daily Stoic. And he quoted General James Mattis, who talked about cynicism. And what Mattis says, and I quote, "Cynicism is a form of cowardice. What's even worse, it is self-fulfilling prophecy. If you convince yourself that nothing can be changed or that your actions don't matter, you're probably right. But you've also surrendered to it." That was a really powerful thing to read, because it really got me thinking, yeah, that is the perspective that a lot of us take when it comes to something like maybe politics, or maybe, something in our own lives, like maybe we have a relationship that's not working out. Maybe we have something that's going on with our work. Maybe there's something going on with our schooling, or something that, maybe it's as little or as small as a project that we're working on. And it's very easy to take that contrarian belief, that belief that it's not going to work, so I might as well just give up. But thinking about what Mattis said about it being cowardly, that's a big word to use for something like cynicism. If we just drop everything and say, I can't make an impact, nothing that I do or say will matter, so why even bother? That's that often leaves a lot of room for doubt. It leaves a lot of room for um, uh, resentment and bitterness, and that's not something that I think any of us should pursue. It's very easy to be bitter. It's very easy to be resentful. It's very easy to, in a sense, poison ourselves with those things, because it's often the easy perspective to take. But I'm here to tell you that it doesn't have to be that way. It really doesn't. A lot of times Marcus Aurelius, Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca, they talk a lot about perspective, and they talk a lot about how much that matters in a situation. Because the truth of the matter is, a lot of things we can't change, especially when it comes to politics, especially when it comes to workplace politics, or if it comes to maybe a grade in school, or a project that you're working on, or you fill in the blank. You know, we can look at that and we can take the negative, but really, our perspective is the only thing that we can change about it. What we think about it is what truly matters, because that's the only thing we can change is ourselves, is how we think of something. So if you think that you're going to fail at that project, if you think that what you say or do at work doesn't matter, if you think that what you say or you do in politics, or for that matter in your own life in any regard, doesn't matter, then you might want to think again, because how you view it, the way that you take it, the way that you process it, that's what truly matters. That's what truly makes an impact. And I talked about this not too long ago, but oftentimes we don't know the type of impact that we're making. So if we're being cynical about something, people are going to see that, and people are going to take note. And how you react to things, people are going to internalize that when they see how you react or how you handle something. And that is the impact that we're making. And you got to ask ourselves, we have to ask ourselves, is that what we really want to show? What do we want to show to these others? How do we want to present ourselves? How do we want to present our actions? How are we going to be able to handle something? Well, it's that reaction, it's your perspective that truly matters. It's your perspective that does change things. And I talked about this, I think I referred to this on a previous podcast, but I think it's worth repeating. There was someone who I had worked um, with for the better part of a year, I would say. Unfortunately, he passed away back in 2022 due to respiratory complications. But he was someone who worked in my workplace, my current workplace, and he was often a very quiet and seemingly tough on the outside type, strong silent type. Um, wasn't very conversational. I think I maybe said like 20 words to him in the time that I knew him and worked with him. But it wasn't until recently that I realized the impact that he had made on my life, right? I learned so much about him at his celebration of life ceremony at the end. I learned more about him in that small amount of time on that day that I got to go with my coworkers and celebrate his life than I ever did working with him. Now um, that may sound unfortunate, but the truth is, it made me realize what he truly meant as a person. He was a father. I didn't know that. He was a grandfather. I didn't know that either. He did a lot of charity work. He was involved in so many things. The man was multi-talented. He could fix anything, and he knew so much about mechanics and other things of that nature. And I'll never forget the one time, the only time that I can pinpoint that he truly showed like real appreciation was the Christmas the Christmas after I got hired at that job. This was about almost 3 years ago now. Um, I had left a Christmas card for him, and including others around the office, but I had left a Christmas card for him in his little box. And like I said, he wasn't a very talkative type, but I left it in his box, and I didn't expect anything out of it. I just wanted to give him a card that said, "Hey, Merry Christmas. I'm thinking about you, and I hope you have a nice holiday." In fact, I believe Christmas was on a Friday that year, and it was the Thursday before, and he often left earlier than everybody else because he had come in at 6 a.m. And I was doing my job, I was overdoing something, and he was walking by on his way out the door. But then he stopped, and I stopped what I was doing, and I turned to him, and he turned to me, and he looked at me, and he just said a simple thank you, and he smiled. And I just nodded back at him and said, "You're welcome." And then he went on his way, and we went on to the Christmas holiday that year. That little moment, I knew that there was an impact that was made, and I knew that he appreciated it. And he wasn't a very sentimental guy, I could tell. But in that little moment that we had together, it really, really affected me in a very positive way. And the impact that he had made on many people, you know, was in fact staggering. Like, for example, just last week, people were talking about him and they were swapping stories and they were saying things. And I was like, wow, I didn't know that he was so personable. I didn't know he was so warm and kind the way that they were describing him. And I guess I just never took the time to get to know him that way. And, I wish I had. But all that to say, even though he had this kind of gruff on the outside personality, not very talkative, not very sentimental, he still made an impact. He still did things that mattered. He still made an impression. So, if that guy of that nature can make an impression like that on someone who barely even knew him, then think about the impact that you and I can make if we put forth the effort. Maybe we're that one person who smiles at somebody. That little small smile can make a difference. Maybe there's someone in your life that you haven't talked to for a while, and maybe you send them a text just because you're thinking about them. Maybe you need to forgive somebody. Maybe, and I know how hard that is. Maybe it's as simple as letting your neighbor know that you are there in case they ever need anything. Maybe it's telling someone that you love them because they may not be here tomorrow. So I just encourage all of us. Let's be that impact. Let's make that impact. Let's be intentional about it. And let's not hold back on what we can do and what we know we can do. Even if there is resentment, even if we do have some cynicism or if we do have some bitterness in us, sometimes it takes that first step to be that miracle, to be that person that those other people need to see, because they see it anyway. They're going to see you anyway, the way that they're going to see you. Their opinions about you may not always be right, and by no means I should say, by zero means should you modify yourself or your being or your identity for anybody else, but because only you can be you, as I've said before. But let's be intentional about the impacts that we're making on people, because that's truly what matters. Let's go out and let's love others as much as we can. Let's be that difference that they want to see. Let's treat others the way that we want to be treated, as the golden rule says. And by the time that our time is up, we can look back and say, I lived and I was the best that I could be. And I absolutely did my best in this situation. Even if the situation wasn't ideal, I did what I could. And that is enough. Because you are enough. So let's do enough to make that happen. So that's all I really wanted to talk about, other than the tragedy that had happened, and being ourselves. And I think it's really important that we not take things for granted, that we treat every day as if it's a new life, as Dale Carnegie said. Every day is a new life to a wise person. And I've said this before, but I'll say it again. Every day is a new life to a wise person. And it takes practice. That wisdom does take practice, but it is possible in our lifetime. We can make that impact, and we can make that difference in others' lives. We can make a difference in the world. As cliche as it sounds, one person can change the world. And by changing the world, it doesn't necessarily mean that the world is going to, revolve the other way and start turning on its axis on the other side. Not necessarily. The world that the world that you're in now, where you find yourself, you can find it better than, or you can leave it better than when you found it. From the time that we started off in life to the time that we take our final, we can make a difference. I talked about in the previous recording of this that how existential we can get to, with the bigness of the universe down to the smallness of atoms and quarks and everything that's made up in that way. We are, in fact, the middle. We are in the middle of all that exists, from the bigness to the smallness. Human beings are in the middle, right smack dab center. And I think about the song by Monty Python called The Galaxy Song, and there's a lyric in there that I love, and it talks about how unlikely and amazingly random, seemingly, your birth is. And that is true. If you think about the millions and millions of cells that could have been born, but instead you were chosen. And you're here for a reason. You were chosen in that moment. And you were birthed, you grew up, and here you are, right now, in this life. And there is significance to that. There is credence. There is true fulfillment in that, realizing that we are all here and we are needed, You're irreplaceable. Think about all the people that exist in the world and who have existed in history and who will exist in the future. There's only one that is like you. So just remember, the next time you feel insignificant, the next time you feel like you don't matter, the next time you feel like you have nothing to offer or that you have nothing in general, you do in fact have everything to gain. You are here to make something amazing. Whatever that might be, that is for you to decide. That is your purpose to fulfill. And just remember that no one can be you the way that you can be. There has never been anyone like you in the past. There will never be anyone like you in the future. And there is no one like you right now. Remember where you came from. Remember those who brought you up and who continue to stand by you to this day. And when you look back upon your life, just remember where you started and where you are now. It's quite a landslide if you ask me. But you're not done yet. You have a purpose. And we're happy that you're here. We're so glad that you're here. Even to those who don't realize what a blessing you are, you can be that light to others. And in typical podcast fashion, I have to mention the Latin phrase, sic Parvis Magna. Remember the translation from Latin to English, greatness from small beginnings. You started where you started, and you're here now. And anytime you feel like you're unmotivated or you don't know where to go from here, just remember where you came from. And albeit maybe it wasn't the best situation, but that is but a season of your life. And you have so much farther to go. You're not done yet. And you're far from finished. So let's not take life for granted. Let's not take those in our lives for granted. Let's love where we can. And let's always remember that being here now, we have that power. We have that perception. We have that drive. It's within us. It may take some practice. It may take some trial and error. But we can do it. And we don't have to have it all together. But all together, we can do it with one another. So that was a bit of a shorter episode. Hope you don't mind my rambling about existentialism and a few other things that have gone on over this past weekend. But I just have to say how grateful I am to have all of you in my life. To those of you who have supported me over the years and who continue to support over on the main channel and over here. It means the world to me that you've taken the time to have a listen, to have a watch, even if it's for a few seconds, popping in. You are appreciated. And I want you to know that every day you help me live my dream. Every single day you help me realize how grateful and how blessed I am to be a part of your lives. And I want to remind you of that every single day and as much as I can, because I want you to know I think about you all the time and how lucky I feel to be in this position. So, until next time, this is Samson Kitty Fox. I encourage you, be that miracle, make that impact, keep your perspective as positive and without cynicism as much as possible, and just remember that you can only do the things that you can, and don't let anybody ever tell you who you can and can't be. That is for you to decide, and it's also for you to decide what you can and can't do. Nobody can ever tell you that either. So, until this next episode, next week, I love you all so much, and I will catch you in the next episode. Bye. Bye-bye. Love you.